All right. We're rocking and rolling now. Well, glad to see everyone here. Nice turnout again. So, my talk is going to be about how I transitioned from a mailman, letter carrier, to WordPress and the journey along the way. A little bit about myself. I'm just going to reiterate what Jason said. I'm associate software engineer at Penske Media Corporation. I'm a former letter carrier for the United States Postal Service. I'm a husband, proud father of two boys. That's my LinkedIn and GitHub if anyone wants to connect later. Slides are available if you want to check it out as well. And I'm just gonna go over the roadmap. I'm gonna talk about just the idea of how I wanted to change careers, and then my process going to a boot camp, and then along comes WordPress. How I even got involved in the WordPress community, going to meetups and WordCamp as well, and then finally the changing the careers. And if anyone has some questions, I'm sure gladly to be able to take some questions afterwards. So let's get started. So the idea to change careers. So I never was really a technical person. I did have background in music production, so that was like my first kind of foray into like software, because everything is with music software based. Everything kind of transitioned from hardware to software. So that was my first kind of dabble with software and development. And in the era of MySpace, I don't know, I'm dating myself. Anybody remember MySpace? Ooh, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, different time, good times, right? So in the era of MySpace, you could kind of like really trick out your MySpace page instead of having like your generic MySpace page. So one of my friends, another like freelance music producer, he made his so nice. It's like I was like, man, how'd you get it so nice? It's like, a little CSS, HTML, and I was like, what? What's that? So I go to W3 schools and kind of was messing around with that, and I just was like, man, this is kind of boring. So I was like, I'm ditching this. So fast forward like years later, I was kind of working on a musical project, helping someone out, and I stumbled upon a Squarespace page, Squarespace, and I used that, and I was like, I kind of want to trick this out, like the MySpace pages I used to see. And I said, you know what? Let me get back into this. Let me get back into you know pursuing this HTML, CSS thing, whatever that is. And so I stumbled upon Free Code Camp, and it wasn't as boring anymore. It was like, okay, this is pretty cool. I could vibe with this, but I just felt I needed more structure. And right around that time, I want to say this is probably like 2016, 17, a term kept coming up. I kept hearing boot camp. I was like, what's a boot camp? So apparently the boot camp was an accelerated kind of, I don't want to say a CS degree, because, I mean, God forbid, someone who has a CS degree, they're probably like, what? No. A boot camp? What? No, no. It's not the same. It's not the same. So I'm not going to say that. I don't want to get beat up after this. So they just kind of accelerate. The key components that are needed in software development, they give you that as opposed to everything else. So to just kind of get you fast tracked. And at the time, a lot of them were like 12 weeks. Some were even shorter than that. But it had to be in person. So I just was like, I can't afford to go full time and do that. So I just kind of just kept going with the free code camp and you know self teaching, and then the pandemic happened, and everyone was kind of lives changed. So and everything became online. So then finally I said, okay, here's an opportunity. I think it's time. I think I could re engage that idea of going to a boot camp. So I'm going to a boot camp. So And let me tell you that facial expression, that's how it feels. But so I stumble upon this aggregator called Career Karma, where they help people who do want to get into tech find a proper boot camp. Because now around this time, this is like 2019, 2020, the boot camp thing is kind of taken off, and there's some not so nice people who are offering boot camps, and it's kind of getting to a place where it's getting a little predatory. So here comes this place, Career Karma, who kind of wants to really help people, guide them through the whole process. So I go through them. I find a boot camp that kind of can coincide with me working full time, where I could put in about 4 to 3 hours in the morning, 3 at night. So I was doing all this, and my second son was born in the middle of it. So it was intense. It was intense, and plus, the early stages of COVID-19, which was scary for everyone. So, but I just persevered, spoke to a lot of software engineers, and uh, heard about different technology, and I was just kind of soaking it in. I was just like, okay, I want to learn as much as I can. And then I hear like whispers of WordPress. WordPress. Now, back in that MySpace age, I heard about WordPress then too, but I didn't understand it. I know there was WordPress.com, and I kind of fiddled with that. I was like, I don't get it. So, but I just heard whispers of WordPress, and I was intrigued. I was like, okay, let me find out about this WordPress. And along comes WordPress with his hand out, open, ready to embrace. So I was like, WordPress, like, what you're about? But then I started asking people, those same like engineers I was meeting in. I said, what's up with WordPress? Like, what do you think about it? They said, pump the brakes. What did you say, WordPress? No, 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 no. WordPress, no way. No way. You know what WordPress is built with, right? PHP. No way. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I heard it all. And I'm sure everyone has heard them too. So, but for fun, we're gonna go over them and laugh as we go over them. First one, it's a dying language. It's a dying language. It's been dying for 20 years, apparently. So, so that's one. Another one, real devs don't use WordPress. Oh boy, that's offensive. That's offensive. That's offensive. And so untrue. So untrue. There's no money in it as well. That's even more laughable, right? And my favorite, you won't find work. But still, I heard all of these comments, and I just was, I'm still. WordPress has its hand out. I'm gonna I'm I'm gonna go see what it's about. I want to find out what's up with WordPress. So I heard about meetups, and I heard that was a good way to network and meet other people who are in the same same interest that you have. So it's in the pandemic. Everything's online anyway. So I was like, let me see if there's like some kind of networking for, engineering or anything like that. And then, boo, I see WordPress Montclair meetup. I was like, Montclair is not too far from me. It's online anyway. Let me just go. Let me check it out. Let me see what's it about. And I want to talk about the power of meetups, right? My son, by the way, he encouraged me to put this one in his picture. So the power of meetups. So I go, and I see Mike, I see Cameron, I see Jason. I don't know anybody. I have my camera off, and getting my son ready for bed, and it was my turn to kind of introduce myself. I let him know, like, hey, I'm in a boot camp now. just really getting into software development, and I heard about WordPress. I just kind of want to find more things out. And Michael Terry, we have a very similar story, so it was kind of like a kindred spirit. He was like, "Hey, I used to work for the post office back in the day when I was in college. I would, did it, in the summer, and I too transitioned. I don't have that whole CS degree thing, and we kind of bonded over that. And Montclair was so cool, the WordPress, that because of the pandemic, there was a Slack plugin called Donut that did a random one-on-one meeting, and you know, as fate will have it, Mike and that was my first donut. So I'm in my mail truck, and turn my phone on, and we talk, and he dispels all the rumors of WordPress. He's like, "What? No, you could do X, Y, and Z with WordPress." I was like, I heard it was just like a page builder. No, well, you could do that too. You could extend it. It's really flexible. And he was like, what you could do is, why don't you take like this course, look into this, and check out WordPress. Like, see how it is. See how it is. So I was diving into WordPress, and of course I still heard those whispers. What, WordPress? You and I just ignored it. I just kind of kept on the side along with the boot camp. So after that meeting, I just was going through the boot camp, and kept in touch with Mike and everyone else in the WordPress community, Montclair meetup, and we're just going through the motions of the boot camp, and then finally I was able to finish it. And one thing that I did was I said, let me be a little bit more active on LinkedIn. So I was on LinkedIn, and I kind of used the strategy learning out loud. So things that I didn't know well, I said, this is a challenge. Let me start doing this online more so. And that caught Mike's attention. And so Mike and I continued to be in further communication. And one night he invited me over. He was like, "Hey, why don't you come over?" Because I was interested in a position at his company. I said, "Hey, are they hiring?" And he was like, "Well, we want a guy who's kind of like more experienced and has a little bit more knowledge. But why don't you come over and like, well, I'll talk to you, let you know like how things work." And I thought that was awesome. And then around that time, we're getting ready for Montclair WordCamp. So I'm oblivious to everything. So I don't know what a WordCamp is. I'm like, what's a WordCamp? I don't know. But I'm gonna volunteer for it. I don't know what it is. I'm gonna volunteer for it. And I really didn't know that this was the first WordCamp post pandemic. So it was gonna be pretty huge. So, but that's when an opportunity came about. So I'm at WordCamp, and we're kind of, just getting things ready. And Laura, who is awesome, Laura always is kind of like, "Hey, Caleb, why don't you try that? Why don't you do this? Try that." And she was like, "Hey, Caleb, why don't you, present the speakers?" I was like, "Oh, like MC a little bit? All right, I'll do it." And it so happens that Penske was one of the sponsors last year. So Mike's boss and my boss as well, uh, Gabriel comes, and he tends to WordCamp, and WordCamp was awesome last year. It was the first one after post-pandemic. It was great. It was my first time. Wonderful people. And then Mike comes to me. He was like, "Hey, listen, I've got an idea." I kind of spoke to Gabriel. He goes, "Why don't we do this? Why don't like we give you some like tickets in the backlog, and you kind of work on them on your on your spare time. see how it goes. You know, let's just give it a shot. So when I heard that, my ears perked. I said, wow, all right. This is a shot. I'm gonna take advantage of it. And I know I think I could do it. Because if I could go through that boot camp, getting up at 2, 3 in the morning because my newborn, he's sleep pattern is not there. I was like, I think I could do this. I think I can handle this. So here we go. So that's my setup. That's my setup in the mail truck. So I said to myself, I asked Mike. I said before I say to myself, I said, "Hey, Mike, what are you guys looking for with these tickets?" He was like, "Hey, see how it is, get a feel." And then in my mind, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna really make the most out of this opportunity. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the same schedule that I had with the boot camp. I'm gonna do 3 to 4 in the morning, 2 to 3 at night, and I want the team to feel like I'm there, like I'm part of the team, like that I'm not part time, like I'm just like doing these tickets like in a silo, that I'm like really engaged. So I said, you know what? I'll through my lunch breaks, I'll use that for stand up. So stand up, I would use my on my lunch breaks, or if it was really hectic, if it was like a ticket that needed to really go out, I would just kind of take a quick 10-minute, look it over, push it out. And then the only challenge was grooming. Grooming is where we kind of vet the tickets and see, to scope them out, see, how long it's going to take, how we should point them. So my trick for that was I would have the laptop to vote. So we have to vote, and then I would do my loop and have like the laptop had the Jira, and then my phone had the Zoom. So I would have the letters in between the phone with the camera turned off, of course, because I was like, they can't see this. So and I would do a loop. So by the time I would get back to the loop, it was time to vote. So then I would hustle back in the truck and then do my vote, go back. So to just really be a part of the team. And I learned so much, and I had such gracious teammates. One of them is here. Nyan is in the audience. She's awesome, and really helped me. Mike really mentored me and showed me the ropes and showed me how to really work and communicate. So that went on for about 6 months, and it was great. I enjoyed it. I loved it. And in that time, I grew to love WordPress and was just blown away by what you can do with it. And like, why isn't everybody using it? Well, 40% of the internet uses it. But I was just blown away by PHP and WordPress and everything you could do with it, and was just like really taken aback why people didn't embrace it. But who knows? But anyway. So then I get um, some news from Mike. So Mike, usually I have my camera off all the time because I was like, I don't want them to see the grittiness of mail delivery. This is gritty. This is pretty gritty stuff. So I had my camera off, and Mike was like, "Hey, Caleb, let me talk to you for a second." And prior to that, Mike invited me to come to the office a few times and meet with Gabriel, meet with Jenny, and really getting to see how PMC does things. And PMC was like an extension of WordPress, the community. How the WordPress community is so open and welcoming and wanting to teach, wanting to embrace you wherever you are. You could not know anything. You could know a lot, and WordPress has a place for you. It's the same way when I would go into PMC. I was like, wow, this WordPress just community just extends to everything. Um, so fast forward a bit. So then Mike, I'm in the truck, and he goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you." Um, he was like, "So I talked to Jenny, talked to Gabriel, and we wanna make you an offer." So I was ecstatic. So I had to turn my camera on for that. I was like, I had to turn it on for this. This is gritty. I turned it on. You saw the mail all over the place. The 100-year-old truck. It was all good. It was all good. So fine. So it was able to transition careers, and this is all from this beautiful community and beautiful piece of software that has helped everyone kind of live out their dreams in the sense of whatever ideas they have, they could just bring it out. And I was just blown away by the community and just the people and just how WordPress extends itself out into the world, and it continues to do so. And I was glad that I didn't listen to those voices, because that's, sometimes you could hear people say things and it could affect you, and you could say, oh, well, you know what, I'm going to take this person's advice. Or sometimes things could be motivated purely by the money and instead of the joy of doing something. And that's another key to thing that I really started to really enjoy using WordPress and really having these ideas and really seeing them out in the world. So it was just all that whole culmination was just mind blowing to me. But I do have some tips for anyone who wants to change careers and kind of has either trepidations or just wants to know how would you start. So one of my tips first is if you go in the self-taught route, which I think a lot of people in the room have done, and I think that's an amazing route as well. And I would two things that I found is and this is particularly one of them is particularly if you want to get into WordPress, or even if you are a seasoned dev too. I think Lauracast is really great, especially Laravel is like taking off. I think Laravel is kind of has people warmed up to PHP again. 100 devs is an online free style of boot camp. So it is sort of a boot camp, but it is self-taught. It's done by this guy named Leon Noel, who's like an amazing guy. During the pandemic, he figured, hey, let me do a boot camp for free, because he's a part of a boot camp. I think it's in the Boston area, Massachusetts area. He said, what I'm teaching there, I'm gonna just give it for free. And he created a great community, and some of the strategies he even said I incorporated, which was like learning out loud and things of that nature. So I definitely would check that out. Another advice I would say is learn in public. Show what you're learning. That could be on social media. I use LinkedIn. You could spin up a WordPress blog pretty easy, and you could document your journey. And so just people can see what you're doing. And then what you're doing is you're reinforcing what you're learning, and then you're also teaching someone who doesn't know. And then I would also set up a GitHub account as early as possible and push code every day. So that was one of the things that helped me out. I was in a rhythm of doing like a kata a day and pushing that. So by the time the opportunity with PMC came, I kind of had that pattern of pushing code every day. Even no matter how small it is or how insignificant you may think it is, I think it's just good to push code every day if you're going along this process of transitioning, just to build up that discipline. if you want to join a boot camp, although I did join one. Now that I look back on it, they're good. They're good. They're good, but I think what's online and especially with ChatGPT, although it's a little clunky sometimes, you could really still do self-taught path, which I think uh, I probably would recommend that more so. But if you're gonna do the boot camp, I would say I would check out Career Karma, and they do a really good job at aggregating what boot camps are right for you. So I would definitely, if that's the route you want to go, I would also read the contract thoroughly. There's a lot of gotchas. That's why uh, Career Karma kind of came into existence, because it started to get predatory, and then certain boot camps started changing their names and just to avoid all these kind of lawsuits that we're getting into. So be very careful with that. But it was a great experience for me, because I was able to get in the habits that software engineers in the field do, which is reading a lot of code. So that was a good experience. And also, another thing I would recommend is be open to opportunities. Uh, like, for instance, I heard about WordPress. I could have listened to what people said and just was like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to just do JavaScript, React developer. That's the thing now. So, but I didn't. I kind of was like, hey, I'm intrigued. So I would definitely be language agnostic, and I would start freelancing as soon as possible just to build your portfolio up. If your mom needs a site, your dad needs a site, cousin needs a site, uncle needs a site, whoever needs a site, I would just do it just to get that experience. And I would do it with WordPress. If I knew better, if I knew WordPress was around, I would have done it with WordPress. But I digress. Uh, I want to say thank you to the whole WordPress community. I think this last year was my first WordCamp, and everyone was so welcoming and still welcoming, and everyone has such different backgrounds, and it's amazing. So I just want to thank the WordPress community. I want to thank Mike or Terry. I know Mike is probably in a lot of people's stories. Want to thank Lauren Byrne as well. She's awesome. She's always encouraging me to do things more, to get more involved in WordPress. Want to thank Jason. Want to thank the greater Montclair meetup as well. I got to Howard, of course. Sorry, Howard. I should have put your name in there too. Want to shout out also Black Press, which was really helpful to me as well. I saw them actually. It was Michelle who I saw, she was a member, and I was like, let me check this out. And I checked it out, and it was awesome, and they were really helpful. Everybody was there. It's not just for if you have African American origin. Everyone is in there. So I thought I really benefited from them early on too. I want to thank Penske Media Corporation as well for giving me the opportunity and really giving me a chance to be a part of their company. So that's my talk. But if anyone has any questions, I'll take them. If not, hi. That was about, let me see. So that was like 20, about 3 years. About 3 years, yeah. Thank you, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I would say start as early as possible. I would say, so what I did was I started doing custom themes, because once I got my head wrapped around like HTML and CSS and JavaScript, then I started playing with custom, like doing a custom theme from scratch and like converting an HTML like site I did vanilla and then doing it as a theme. That really helped because I was able to like touch PHP and really see how the functions and methods work. So yeah, I'd start early as possible. I would just break stuff. Like I was just break stuff. I was always scared to break stuff. I was like, I'm not gonna do it. No. Just break it. Just break it. Because then you'll ask questions. So when you break stuff, you'll go to your meetup and you say, hey, listen, I was working on this and this is broken. Can you know how to fix this? And oh, this is what you do. I do that. I break stuff all the time. I'm all like, Mike, I broke this. You know how to And Mike is easy. Bop 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 bop. So yeah, I would just as soon as possible, just break stuff, play with it, and just have fun. That's the most important thing. It's like for me, what I really enjoyed about WordPress was the creativity. Just coming from a music background, I liked theme development. So I just was, you know, HTML and CSS and design. I really enjoyed it. So I just say just as early as possible, break stuff, ask questions, and everyone here is so WordPress community is so knowledgeable. That's another thing too, like the whole not real devs. I think I met the most amazing software engineers in WordPress. Like hands down, they could do anything. They're like MacGyver. I don't know. I'm dating myself. I'm dating myself. I'm like dating myself the whole time, man. But yeah. So I would just build stuff and ask because there's so many like really knowledgeable people in the community. So
Question. Hey there. I got the mic.
Nice.
So I am Courtney Robertson. I am at GoDaddy Pro. I'm sponsored to contribute to the learn.wordpress.org website. So if you're on WordPress, at the top it says Learn. Go there. The team that I work with most contributes to that. Question for you. It sounds like in your journey to finding a boot camp, you found WordPress after that. Is that right? In your time frame? Okay. Did any of the boot camps that you were checking out mention WordPress beyond content marketing as part of their programming or their track? I say this because I taught at one and I'm seeing a need.
There is a need. No.
Okay.
None of them mentioned it. Everyone was. So their thinking is okay. Like once they have that mind frame, PHP is a dead language. Java is old. C++, all of that, all of the enterprise, technologies. They're like, oh, it's old. React, the MERN stack, MongoDB, all that stuff. So that's what they're learning. And then what winds up happening is people get out of the boot camp, and no one is really hiring for that from a junior.
Right. So as part of that, when I was instructing at a boot camp, and I was teaching the languages using WordPress, developing with WordPress, and we were using CARES Act relief money during COVID to do all of that. So my boot camp leaders were not providing adequate PHP because PHP is dead. Right. But also we were struggling because there were no official guidelines or resources that said, here is what an entry WordPress dev needs to have or to use or to be able to do. Because if you're going in through a boot camp and you come out as front end or back end, there are some pretty obvious pathways. But with WordPress, you need to be an inch deep full stack, and you need to have that PHP even if you're front end. Because if you're going to support a plugin or a theme, you need to know a little PHP, just enough to, right? So I don't know if you've got thoughts on this, and I would love to connect more a little bit later, but I want to receive some of the feedback from the bootcamp side as well as the hiring side of what you're seeing or observing to help share that so that WordPress.org can help facilitate here's what we need job pipeline wise and how to help get those jobs.
Absolutely. That's a great idea because I definitely see that. Like you said, a lot of times, you would do a boot camp and it's full stack, but you're actually not. Whereas if you worked with WordPress, you are actually doing the full stack, and you get leveled up really quickly because you're in it. Like with WordPress, you're in it. You have no choice but to be all in. There's not a separation of like a front end, back end. You're like it's all together. So I would love to talk to you and definitely love that. Any other questions?
Did you just do it on your own? Oh, thank you. Hi there. Whoop. You just do it locally on your own laptop, or did you go and get, what did you buy to?
So I use that's a great question. So to get started, there were so many great free resources. So for my development, my local environment, I used VS Code, and there's like a lot of extensions if you want to kind of see your work live. It's spin up a server for you. But when I got into WordPress, there's MAMP and local. I would recommend local because it's so easier. It's much easier especially when you're starting out. But initially, before I started working with WordPress, there's a couple of tools where you could get some. You could I forget the name. Where you could kind of host your website. It's not even really hosting. I forget the name of it. Gosh. No, it wasn't involved with WordPress. It was something where it was just basic HTML, CSS. You could, like, if you wanted to do like a little portfolio site, you could just spin it up. I forget the name off hand. Also, you could use GitHub to kind of host your website if you wanted to just do something basic HTML, CSS. But I would recommend if you for your developer environment, I do VS Code because it's free and there's like a ton of tutorials, and especially if you want to develop with WordPress, which that's why we're here. I'd go with a local by Flywheel. It was real. I was like blown away by all the tools that you know everyone like. WordPress is just so you can make it as robust as you want, or you could make it as simple as you want. So that's what I recommend. I hope I answered that question for you properly. Anyone else has a question? If not, thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of WordCamp.